Okay, we're live. Hi guys, I've just come back for a quick Saturday night stream. I don't think this will be very long, but we will focus on these front legs and yeah, just give it some love and then go move on to the rest of the back legs and feet, and then finally we'll come back to the face. Maybe not in this stream, but either tomorrow or Wednesday. Let's see. So we'll begin by shaping this little digit here. Um, uh, when when trying to get a lot of mass, it's really useful to use the inflate brush to quickly add stuff like that and shape it. So it helps you keep everything smooth, unlike the clay buildup where it's a bit like adding clay. Right, so this is more like it just expands the topology. But after a while, you start to see this banding because, well, the pixels are pushed away from each other. So, well, that's fine when we're in this Dynamesh and Sculptress Pro mode. But it will be problematic if you have a clean retopologized mesh, which is not the case for us. Move topological is good as well. So I think this comes quite a bit lower. If I go transparent for a second and reveal my anatomy, I might have had um, this somewhere up there, which may not be correct. So I can always go and adjust the anatomy to what I end up doing with the actual sculpt. So that bone should probably be a little bit lower in my opinion. Okay, alpha 6, low intensity. So we're gonna have to try and accentuate those joints, right? So we know there's one here, and this vein goes on top of that joint. So we will address that. I normally use standard for this, but I've seen Steve Lord, yeah, the legendary Steve Lord, he uses inflate for veins in one of his videos. It's just curious. I'm gonna try that this video. I guess it doesn't matter when you're sculpting loosely in here in this mode. But I wonder if we would do the same on a clean topology because inflate sort of pushes pixels apart in all directions, isn't it? Which may not be good for the topology. Same with the pinching, it's just the opposite. It just yeah, it does something that's a bit unnatural. But when in Dynamesh, not none of that really matters. Just gonna trim off this bit because it's too far out. So there's a little bit of a socket that comes out here for the nails to sort of emerge from. I think it has the shape where it goes in at the top and curves this way. So the nail sort of comes from that. So let's dig in a little bit deeper to make grooves. So this is what we're going to make part of the model, and the nail maybe can be a separate object that we parent to the bone. just need another reference because I'm a little bit unsure. So if the bones come in like that, is there any flesh that goes this way? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I think if I be better if I change this slightly so it's more rounded. So so that comes down here, and then there's another little curve that way. Let's take dam standard to create a little bit of a crease. So that's our 5. So we'll do the same to this one here. Just gonna re-dynamesh that. Well, back to clay build up because we need to create a little groove here as well. And so I'm going to create this bony part and this. That should be enough now to dig a hole like that. Dynamesh. Smooth that. I didn't like that. So there is actually under here there's like a pad. So for this, is it over there? I think. Let's go to sculptress mode to and then trim dynamic a little bit. So let's look at the topology, just so we can see a bit more detail. Now, of course, the crucial part is going under the foot. I mean, we got a bit of detail here. I'm not too bothered about the veins just yet, not at this stage, because I like to do that after I've done the retopology and we start on the secondary details. This one still counts as primary because this detail actually helps us with the retopology. So the way I think of this is anything that you need, any detail that you need for your uh, final topology, that to me comes under primary forms because you have to have your curvature, I mean, edge flows of your topology. It's based on the primary forms of your creature, and any secondary tertiary forms, they you don't model those because that will make your model too high res and it's overkill. So things like veins, I wouldn't model that, right? So that's why it's relegated to secondary forms. Whereas these tendons, you know, yeah, I'll have to sort of model it so it goes up and down. So therefore, these qualify as primary. So that's how I decide what to sculpt and what not to at this stage of modeling. Okay, let me just take one look at the underside of the paw. I know we have it modeled with the anatomy model. We have some of this detail. So, but I'm not really sure that that's good enough. So, so yeah, I'm going to properly sculpt it this time. Right, so let's remove the mask. So start here. So let's bring this guy and using the move tool, just do that a little bit out and then hit control and then do it again. Ah, we can't do it if the mesh is partially hidden. Okay, and with the Sculptris Pro activated, a smaller brush, I can come in and give it a little bit higher detail here while smoothing. Or maybe not there. Let's first of all smooth this jagged part. I just noticed, I mean, I expected this to have a different polygroup, but it didn't, which means I didn't actually move it the way I intended. So let's go back here. One way you can make sure is just invert and hit Control W. So this is a different topology. And oops, let's reveal the model first. And then just isolating this. There is a way you can smooth this using the edge loop and click group loops. It might loop some of the other groups, but you don't have to worry about it. And it does that, right? So, so then I can come in here, say click, and then hit Control and drag, somewhere like that, and then Control and drag again. This time maybe scale it inward. Control and drag one more time. I don't think it scales like in local space, so that's not gonna help much. Yeah, just control that. Just keep it straight. That will do. And should we crease? Let's crease. Does it didn't do anything? No. So if I isolate this subgroup, this polygroup, and then click crease, I think it creases. Yeah, that one. I don't know if I needed to. I just did it anyway. So that gives us these little pads that we can work on separately if required, right? So let's turn this one off. So yeah, that's how it looks like, but I think it's just too sharp. I didn't really need to crease it. Let's dynamesh this. Mm, yeah, which makes it a bit rubbish, but that's okay. I just wanted some clear detail that Yeah, that I can then smudge and make it look like a pad of a paw and not some artificially made shoe horse kind of thing. So just gonna smooth out those edges for more organic shape. And I will be moving this around a bit because it's still too small for my liking. So that could, is it too high res? No. Move topology is struggling, which indicates that it's too high res. Maybe if I hide the rest of the geometry, it'll be a lot faster. So, so this is kind of the shape we want. A little bit wider at the back, and those are like way too. I don't even think that will work, but yeah, let's pull them back and probably placed it incorrectly. So they're more like an oval like this. It covers quite a bit of that finger. So stretch them out. Yeah, I don't mind the little crease that we are creating because of the stretching. That seems natural. It's just that it does have a bit of a bow like that, comes out a bit. And smoother on this side, the edges probably too sharp. Let's make that smooth. And also wider. So now I can try and move these closer to one another. Maybe it's best to bring in clay build-up at this point to just sculpt that detail rather than moving it. But I was wasting a lot of time. We're just gonna add some clay to close these gaps. It's also like a third little hump that comes here. So how's it looking from the front side? Maybe could trim this bit. It's a very organic shape, so you just put a few lumps of clay here and there and hope for some happy accidents because not all lines have the same exact shape. So I've looked at a few references and they're all looking a little bit different from one another. So so you just go pick one and stick to that shape. But fundamentally, they are just some fat pads to allow them to walk through very harsh environments. So, so once you get the basic shape, you can just play with it and make it just look good. Okay, so now I have the opportunity because it's a separate polygroup. I can come and pull further down if I want to. Let's see how it's looking from the front. Perhaps this one could come down a bit more and flatten. Another thing is when you think about this line is actually standing straight, these would be squashed a bit. But when we're modeling, it's okay not to take that into account because when we rig it, we will do like add controls for squashing and stretching these. At this point, of the modeling, you just want to be as neutral as possible. Just capture the right shape that you think they should be. Let's see what happens if we dynamesh this. Okay, not losing detail, that's good. So yeah, that's what I mainly wanted to do today for the front paws. Maybe smooth these out, those edges. Then we can go to the back foot, the back 2 feet. Let's get clay build up. Just accentuating those tendons. And we know that there's this boning area, so let's add some detail there. And this also comes out not that much. Uh, there's a lot of detail missing here. Just need more mass. Just dig in a bit. We pull it back, pull this back, and then we'll fill it up to Dynamesh. Inflate. Okay, let's do our initial Dynamesh. Uh, we want this to be ideally separated, but I guess we'll sort that out with the retopology phase. Essentially, I'll just model a separate finger and project the details where only where we need it. So don't worry too much about that, uh, this finger for now. And so we know that here we got these pads. Also, we don't need the nails because that'll be a separate geometry. So I'm going to trim this off, these tips. There. Another thing to note is these nails, they are quite long, aren't they? So instead of having them rounded, we want them to be elongated, these grooves. And push them back. Average this out with some clay buildup. I think we got somewhere. It can be further refined, but let's see what we can do with these pads. I think I got this completely the other way around because it's wider at the back, isn't it, and narrower in the middle. So let's just isolate this now. So put those three little heads, and then from there, dig in the middle. A little bit wider first, and Yeah, with this one, I decided just to sculpt. There's no need to be fancy like masking and pulling stuff out because we have most of the shape already. We could delineate this further with UDEMY standard, like so. Okay, let's use the move brush. Okay, that's pretty organic. And now the same with this. We want to have that U shape going on, but the pads have to be a lot further back than that. So just take the clay builder, go around. Okay, how's it looking from the side? Okay, uh, maybe dig it further. So here we could fill in some of that gap. It's just too narrow, I think. So if we fill that in, feels a bit more like there's some fat. Same here, I think. If you see a lion, you won't actually see that much of a change of plane there, but just enough to suggest that there's something happening. So for that, just go in this direction to fill that little ch plane change. But this one, I don't mind it for now. I'm gonna leave that. Okay, how's it looking from a distance? So there's this muscle, the quad. You can smooth that one out. Also want to smooth this, the muscle. We shouldn't really see that much of ribs because there's a group of muscle that go over it, which we haven't sculpted in the anatomy stage because it's not something that's visible. Let's see how that is looking. Much better overall, especially the back leg, the insides. There's this pattern thing going on there which we don't need, but it is harmless for now. We can worry about that after we've retopologized and when projecting the details, maybe mask that bit off and resculpt it. So yeah, so I would just like to finish up the phase in the next stream, and once I have a phase that's close to where I need it to be, I will begin the retopology. Um, Most likely in Blender. I haven't decided. Maybe we can do it in ZBrush, but I'll do it in Blender. We can play around with Z-remesher and sorts of other topology tools, but trust me, it's just a waste of time. I mean, eventually we'll have to scrap all that and do a production-ready topology, which we can't get yet with Z-remesher or quad remesher plugin in Blender. They all get you close, but not quite there. So might as well just hand retopo it. So all of that, we had way too much plane changes just as a form of exaggeration, and I'm just reducing that. The knees also, you can go across like this, and there's another, where the bones attach, there's usually a separation there, and this muscle here, we can really round this. So it looks a lot more natural. So I'm going vertically because I want to lose a bit of that detail. And then I go across to round the forms. Same here, just across to round the forms. Get some overlapping. So overall, that back leg is so much better now. Let's look at this with different materials, like the basic. Oh, we had to do the neck as well. Um, yeah, I think when we do the head, we will focus a bit more on the neck area and the chest, and then we'll be closer to being ready for retopology. Let's look at basic 2 for specular details. Just make it a shiny clay model. Yeah, plenty of organic detail, and we'll get some of this clay pattern that will go away when we retopologize and project the details on the low res. And then I usually just smooth one extra level without projection, which will smooth out any of these details that we don't want. Yeah, I'm happy with the progress. So just once Dynamesh and go back to Matcap Gray and call it done. So yeah, that was a little quick stream, guys. Today, I just want to make the feet look watchable because they're a bit ugly. So yeah, do those little details in the next session and finish up the head before we move to retopology. So fun times. Thank you for joining me today and have a good night.